Yo, what's good? It's Skano from the gutter. A lot of talk is made about how violent our inner cities are, as if American culture in and of itself was not, embroidered with violence. So it's kind of like, I focus on it because it's our community, it's our people, and we have so many other, obstacles to overcome in this country, in this world, you know, and have to deal with that on top of it. It makes it nearly insurmountable, you know. But let's be real. America in general is violent. You know what I'm saying? We're not going to sit here and act like, something that I figured out. And once you are removed from certain situations, you can figure out certain things. You will have certain realizations, as you evolve. Uh, and there's something that I've come to the conclusion that many black folks, is particularly, especially in urban communities, have a dissociative disorder. Disassociation. Do you realize that in a lot of our communities, the killers get more respect than this is something that, I was aware of since, a shorty. Because the killers be known, you know. If you know, you know. And they were held in certain regard, man. High regard. The highest regard. The killers get more respect than, the entrepreneurs, the intellects. You can go to college, come back a lawyer. You won't have more clout in the hood, that you came from than the killers. You go to the army, go across seas, catch however many hats for this government, you know. But it won't matter in the hood, you know what I'm saying? We idolize killers, man. We do. A lot of us, not all, obviously. A lot of us, especially in the urban community. There's no one higher, held in a higher esteem. That's the issue. That's the issue. So this is why the killing is so prevalent. And once you get conditioned, because a lot of people that watch this over YouTube or on the news or whatever your feed is, that have never been exposed to it, it is horrible. But we all know that you can be conditioned to anything. Anything. And that's what happens. But as far as the disassociation, and this is what I mean. And I'm speaking from, this is just my thoughts on the matter. I can't tell you what the next person is thinking. But I'm not much different than these other niggas out here. Anyway, so when I was in that lifestyle, it was almost like you exist on a separate plane than the rest of society. You are operating on a whole nother. You don't even calculate into your lifestyle, how you living. Societal norms don't exist as y'all would know it. It's a totally different, separate form of reality. And consequences, there are certain consequences that come behind certain actions, but no risk, no reward is the mentality. But as far as, law and order, like I said, societal norms, things that average normal people calculate into their day-to-day life, people in the hood don't live like that. They don't perceive the world that way. It's almost like virtual reality. This is just, I'm saying from my experience. Because I'm looking back on certain things, and all glory to God, I'm able to sit here today. And it's like, how did I live like that? And how did I just accept that as being normal? You know what I'm saying? So you see somebody killed at the age of 8, 7, 8, you outside playing. And this becomes routine. How do you think the next generation of killers are ushered into it so easily? You know what I'm saying? Because you become desensitized, conditioned. And I'm not talking about television. Like, you could watch violence, and there is some type of connection with, like I said, America in general is violent. It's in our culture as Americans to be violent. But black folks take it to a whole nother level because we are disenfranchised. You know what I'm saying? We are here. We got to abide by the same laws, and we are bound by the same, political, legal restraints as everyone else, socioeconomic, whatever. But it's like we exist outside of that prism. You know what I'm saying? But when you in front of them people, it all come crashing. Then it's like reality set in. It's hard to explain. But I think the predominant issue in our community right now is it's not greed, self-indulgence, self-gratification, all that's a human thing. Our main issue in our community is the amount of prestige, the amount of glorification that we set aside for killers. You know what I'm saying? And me, myself, personally, I can't say fell victim to, because I never felt like I was a victim of anything. I made my choices. And I definitely, once I got out, jumped off the porch, I looked up to the killers too, in a sense, And like I said before, some people call it a mental disorder. Obviously, I'm not crazy. So how does this type of shit become normal? Because I know other people that have lived like that, and they got hats. They got hats, and they moved on, raising a family. They, went on to do other things with their life just like normal people. You would never know in they past, they was one of them ones walking around like, so there is redemption, There is redemption. If you can, you know what I'm saying, separate yourself from that before you get caught up, your time run out when it run out. But as I said, man, and I say we, I mean America in general, they hold the hood as the model of, dysfunction. And it's a symptom of, you know what I'm saying? It's a symptom of the overall construct. But don't get it twisted, man. America is violent. Where the hell where you think we learned it? You know what I'm saying? So not trying to, avoid accountability. Because like I said, man, in our communities, we are responsible, we're not responsible for the systemic issues, but we're responsible for how we move around and how we, you know what I'm saying? But that's the main problem. Like I said, man, we have a generation of young men and women, and it didn't just start. This started in the 80s. To my, I've only been around since, you know what I'm saying? But ever since I was young, it's been this way. The killers always been admired, They're always, crowned. And so what do you think cause young kid, we hear the whispers. You know, even if you're not involved, you hear the whispers in the hood about who's a stepper, woo woo. And what can I say, man? You know, not all kids, but for the most part, when you know, like MJ, you know, or any particular athlete, you know, entertainer, whatever icon you want to choose, we idolize the Killers. So what do you think? Obviously, you're gonna walk in them footsteps. You know, you want that reputation, you want that prestige. You know, you want people in the hood to look at you in that light. The men and the women alike. You know, because women love Killers. I don't care what y'all say. I know. So, not all women. But that's the issue. We have, you know, we have Christian the Killers. And, what can I say, man? Is it human nature? It can't just be black folks. Because, as I said, Hollywood been pumping out violent films for decades. So we're not the only ones, you know. It's just that, like I said, black folks, we more often than any other race cross that line. Most other races, y'all watch these films or what, you know, and you live vicariously through that. You don't actually cross the line. But in these hoods, ain't no lines that won't be crossed. You know, because like I said, a lot of us are living out in a whole separate realm of reality. Disassociation from mainstream society. I don't know if this is making any sense to anyone, like it makes sense in my head, but just my thoughts. 216 Skano, you already know.